We're here to make a new type of news.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are the news generation.
Making news just for you. It's March 22nd here in Seoul. I'm Shin-Yun, and you're watching News Generation. Joining me in the studio is Walter Lee.
Lovely to be here.
Happy Friday, and Park Ki-hoon.
Happy Friday, everyone.
Good morning. Now, both are here to speak on behalf of people in their 20s and 30s. As usual, let's start with our news feed, which covers different hashtags and news items that have been trending on social media over the past 24 hours. South Koreans reportedly go to sleep later than most of the world. A popular global alarm clock app with over 82 million downloads called Alarmy analyzed users' data from last year and found that people in Turkey went to sleep the latest at night. On average, Turks fell asleep at 1:08 a.m. Then it was those in South Korea. South Koreans usually fell asleep at 12:57 a.m. Alarmy is used by people from 232 countries, and the latest survey found that those in Indonesia were the ones to wake up at the earliest time at 6:11 a.m. Moving on, yesterday, March 21st, was Cancer Prevention Day, a day designated by officials in Korea to raise awareness on getting regular checkups to better prevent or detect early symptoms of cancer. Cancer is the #1 cause of death in Korea regardless of age. Among various types, kidney cancer seems to be posing a big threat, particularly among the younger generation. In the past 5 years, we saw 72% more kidney patients among females in their 20s. Though kidney cancer is 98% curable when detected at an early stage, it's very difficult to treat once the tumor spreads. Compared to other types of cancer, it's hard to physically detect symptoms. Visible signs are seeing blood in your pee, sudden weight loss, or a lump in your kidney area. And Donald Trump has indicated that he would most likely try bringing back the 15-week national ban on abortion if he gets re-elected as president in the upcoming November election. In an appearance on a morning TV show, Trump said he supports what he called a majority-backed number of weeks that allow when abortion should be allowed, and that's 15 weeks. Now, he did bag exceptions to a ban on abortion, for instance, in case of rape, incest, or saving the life of the mother. Trump is running for the Republican Party, which is seen to have a conservative stance on when a woman should be allowed to have an abortion till. The Biden campaign has constantly brought up its opponents' curbs on reproductive rights, especially after the Supreme Court in 2022 overturned the Roe v. Wade ruling that recognized a woman's constitutional right to abortion. The American public since expressed its disapproval by limiting Republican gains in the congressional elections that followed. Now, since the overturning of Roe v. Wade, we've seen abortion rights tweaked by state, and Republicans have issued restrictive abortion laws in nearly 24 states. And Trump's 15-week comment is significant in the sense that it won't seem to be pleasing to both his political party or abortion rights activists. Now, here in the studio, as much as this is a contentious issue, where do you personally stand on abortion rights, or how do you perceive this news story?
First of all, politics aside, the first thing that pops up in my head when I think of abortion is my body, my choice. I'm not 100% for abortion, but I think it's really up to the women to make the right choice at the right time.
Right.
Perhaps 15 weeks may be enough to make an important life decision, whether it's medically safe, health-wise, or whether it's ethically right. But I'm not a doctor, so I don't have much say on this. But I just hope that women do not manipulate this and take advantage of getting abortions repeatedly, because it's obviously not good for their body, and they might become infertile. But however, I also think this is one of Trump's electoral campaigns to win the votes of the swing voters in swing states as well. And I definitely think this is not an issue to be discussed on the table at this time of the year.
Exactly. It does seem to be coming at an uncanny time, especially as they are waiting for the November elections to come forth. Walter, what about you? What did you think?
Yeah, well, in all honesty, I'm for women having the ability to get an abortion as long as there are regulations as to when they cannot get an abortion, which they are figuring out, like the age of the baby in the womb, etc. I have many people around me against the idea of abortion, and I know that the argument is at this stage, it's murder whenever you abort a baby. But I still think it's a woman's choice as to why they decide to abort. I agree with Ki-hoon that they shouldn't be doing it multiple times, but obviously this is a hot debated topic that I feel like will go on forever. And as a male, I don't think I have much of a say in it, to be honest with you.
And as you mentioned, it is a debate topic that we're seeing happen around the world, with recently with France, now here in Korea. Hopefully we'll see more developments come forth. Now, in the meantime, we're going to switch gears to our discussion topic of the day. Every March 22nd is World Water Day, and the UN's flagship report on water and sanitation is released every year on this day. The report mentions and monitors how much clean water is accessible in different parts of the world, and it sheds light to how much more water we need to conserve. For more on what this year's Water Day promotes, take a listen to my AI voice.
Back in December 1992, the United Nations General Assembly adopted a resolution declaring March 22nd of each year as a day to raise awareness on the importance of water. Hence, from 1993, we had the first World Water Day. The international body has since been highlighting how important water is, as it can create peace or even cause conflict. The UN says more than 3 billion people worldwide depend on water. That crosses national borders, but only 24 countries have mutual agreements to share their supply. That's why the theme for this year's World Water Day has been designated as Water for Peace. The UN aimed to foster a positive ripple effect, where more countries understand that water is an essential resource that should be and could be shared and not competed over.
In light of World Water Day, we're going to be looking at our own daily habits that may be helping or damaging the world's finite stock. We're going to first start our discussion by looking back at how much water we use regularly, especially among our panelists, starting with you.
Well, so Walter loves his water. Happens to be one of my favorite drinks, so I consume a lot of water every day. A lot of people drink bottled water. When I try to use a water purifier, Brita. So I'm saving the environment in two ways. I think it saves on waste and tastes just as good as the bottled water anyway. I could probably watch my water usage a bit more though, to be honest with you. For instance, when I shave, I leave the tap running, and though I'm trying my best to fix my bad water wasting habits, knowing that we are actually heading towards a shortage, but I am trying my best.
I know, and I can say I'm living proof that you always bring your tumbler around and you drink a lot of water. I think that's one good habit that I should be learning from you as well.
Yes.
What about you, Kyun?
I think I have 3 daily habits when it comes to water usage. One is drinking bottled water, unlike Walter.
Yes.
2, taking a shower, and 3, washing the dishes. So, in terms of drinking water, I'm a little particular with what type of water I drink. So I tend to drink bottled water. I know it's not good for the environment, but I only drink 1.5 to 2 liters of water a day, which is not much compared to people taking showers. Look, I take super short showers, like less than 5 minutes on average, and I can't really show you, but I can actually time it and show you, because I know a lot of men who take much longer showers than me.
Not just men, women too.
Yes.
I don't want to talk about women because
Yes.
they go forever and they just spend they use a lot of water, and
Yes.
and also with dishwashing, I don't use a dishwasher, which I know for a fact uses a lot of water compared to just leaving the tap on. No, so besides me drinking bottled water, I think I don't use much water on a daily basis, but with water, I think it's really important to drink clean water, and I
That's so true.
personally think bottled water is a little cleaner than tap water, like personally, and I like to keep myself hydrated. So I think it's really convenient to carry around a few just bottles of water around me.
I think there is a definite trade-off for you. As much as you drink plastic bottled water, you don't take as long showers or use the dishwasher.
But I don't smell.
And you don't smell. Okay, that's the biggest trade-off there. And the UN has been trying to really promote the fact that water, though it's a very important resource out there, it's finite. There's not enough for anyone. And that's why they launched World Water Day. And I would like to emphasize today throughout our whole episode that water is such an important source. But could you elaborate on how important a resource our generation thinks about water these days?
Well, of course, it is extremely important to to our daily lives. Our whole world needs water in one form or another. However, we are sadly looking like we are heading towards a water shortage. So if we take a look at the screen, let me just show you the numbers. According to last year's United Nations Water Conference, the world's water shortage population is expected to increase to 2 billion by 2050. Now, when you think about it, the year 2050 really isn't too far away, just another 26 years. So I'm hoping that we are all still alive, but at that point, we're going to be in trouble if we, don't have a lot of water to, give out to people.
Exactly. And before today's episode, I don't think we really recognize, or we're not thinking on a daily basis as to how precious water is, given the fact that we're living in South Korea, where we have so easy access to water everywhere. Though you said you like plastic bottled water, we still can drink tap water too. We have a lot of clean water here. But Kyun, could you also emphasize how important this resource is, especially to our generation?
Right, so I wasn't too aware of water scarcity around the world and in South Korea until I had to, get ready for this episode. And I read some reports from the UN, and like you mentioned before the segment, I think I found out that 3 billion people worldwide depend on water across national borders. However, only 24 countries have cooperation agreements for all their shared water. And that is an alarmingly small number compared to the number of people. And it directly affects their health, food and energy, and of course, economic productivity. Now, to better raise the awareness of water shortage, our water expert, Tony Allen, introduced the virtual water concept. So let's take a look at the screen for further explanation. As you can see, virtual water is basically water used during the manufacturing and distribution of process of products. So the most surprising product to me was 1 kilo of meat requiring 15,000 liters of water and 140 liters to make one cup of coffee. Now, looking at those numbers, it made me wonder whether I should really cut down on my coffee and red meat.
You love your coffee.
Exactly.
I do.
I love my coffee and my red meat as well.
So drinking bottled water is not that damaging
I know.
compared to how much meat or coffee we drink.
Exactly, because I was
right.
just going to say, how much water can we drink in a day? It's probably like up
Not
to
even
2
2 liters, right?
But for us to use 140 liters for coffee, that definitely boggled my brain for a bit. Now, fortunately, we have easy access to clean water here in Korea. Sometimes its convenience causes us to be a bit too wasteful. And to find out how other millennials and Gen Z are reflecting back on their water consumption habits, we asked our viewers to share their own daily habits. Take a look at the screen to find out what 3 of them had to share with us. Let's start with Rex. Rex said, instead of watering your garden every day, you can do it twice a week instead. Water you use for washing clothes can be used for flushing the toilet. Even simple maintenance checks can help. Fixing a leaking faucet can save a lot of water. Benny says, we have a good way to save water, doing the dishes quickly. Phil says, I'm starting to be more cautious of my water use. I use water restrictors on my kitchen faucet and shower, and I check plumbing fixtures for leaks more often. So I do think that our viewers have a better understanding as to saving water and its importance, but to better understand how important this resource is and realize that now more than ever, we need to learn how to better conserve this scarce amount of water out there. We're going to include an expert in agricultural and urban water management in our talks. We're now going to turn to Dr. Amir Verdi, Professor of Agricultural and Urban Water Management from the University of California, Riverside. Welcome, Dr. Verdi.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Dr. Verdi, today is World Water Day, and we're really trying to emphasize the severity of water scarcity around the world. So from when and how was there a specific incident or tipping point that made us all realize that water is such a scarce resource?
That's a really good question. So first, I want to mention that I was watching your news, lots of good information. But when we think about water, it's mainly worldwide. There are different statistics, but water for food. So we're 70 to 80%, I would say, is used for food production. So that's one thing that we should keep in mind. I will talk about this if I get a chance later on. But the problem of water scarcity worldwide is extremely serious, but it's not a recent issue. Ancient civilization, in fact, relied on fresh water for survival, and therefore you can see that they often shape their communities around water sources. So in modern era, especially in 20th century, efforts mainly focused on engineering solutions to increase water supply. So good examples are dams and canals and water distribution systems to store and move water around. But we need to be very careful about such projects since they may create demand that is not feasible to fulfill in long terms, at least not in a sustainable way. So more recently, there has been a shift towards more understanding the importance of water conservation and focusing basically on the demand side. This shift is essential because we are facing increasing demand due to population growth worldwide, and while our water resources, of course, are limited. So climate change and also further complicates matters. So lead it. So the consensus is that it leads to more extreme events. So more severe droughts are likely to happen, and floods that puts pressure again on agricultural systems and water infrastructure that are not that have not been designed to actually deal with those extreme events. One more thing that I want to mention is that dietary shifts, if they happen in a large scale, that also are important in terms of water consumption. So, such as dietary shift towards more meat-based diets, so which exacerbate the strain on freshwater resources. To put it in perspective, the production of same amount of food calories requires on average 8 times more water in case of meat than for plant products. So, if again we see a shift in meat-based diets and meat consumption, that also can be a part of the problem.
So, as you can tell from our discussion so far, a lot of eco-conscious millennials and Gen Zers seem to be looking for ways to better save water. Would you agree? And why do you think our generation is a bit more aware about the gravity of this situation?
I'm very optimistic about the new generation. In fact, in my the classes that I teach here in University of California, I witnessed firsthand the strong environmental awareness and responsibility among younger generations, particularly regarding our natural resources like water. The awareness gives me cautious optimism for the future. So I think, back to your question, the awareness in part, I think I hope, is coming from the work that the scientific community has been doing over the decades to generate unbiased, science-based information about our precious natural resources and how human activities can negatively impact them. Another reason is that the younger generation through social media gets information more easily, and also they are firsthand witnessing the devastating effects of climate change, particularly on vulnerable communities. So they don't want to be part of the problem, and instead they try to be a part of the solution, which I admire about them.
Dr. Verdi, what are some global policies trying to save water or better allocate clean water to more people around the world?
So let me answer your question a little bit differently by focusing on local and regional issues. So I think water issues are often local and regional, so then they should be addressed as such. And my expertise, in fact, lies in water consumption in agriculture and urban areas where our local solutions are critical. So while I want to acknowledge that there are transboundary water issues that require national or international policies, individuals can make a difference by focusing on local water challenges and finding ways to address them.
I see. Now, Professor, before we let you go, I think today's discussion topic should really resonate with our generation, given the fact that we have so many daily habits that might hamper conserving water in an efficient way. So could you give us any tips on how we can better save water through changing our daily habits?
Certainly. So in urban areas, when we think about water consumption, it typically falls into indoor and outdoor categories. So we are all familiar with indoor water saving practices like taking shorter showers and using water efficient appliances. However, outdoor water use, particularly for irrigation in dry regions like Southern California, where I live, presents unique challenges. Many people lack information of how much water plants truly need and how to conserve it effectively. So generating, disseminating, and using science-based information is critical to enhance water use efficiency in urban areas. Another point worth mentioning is that there is a tight connection between water, food, and energy sectors. Often one is used to generate or move the other. So we need energy to move, for example, and treat water, and water is necessary to generate energy. So conserving one can alleviate pressure on the other sectors. For instance, food waste is significant in some areas, in the world. So if we can find ways to avoid food waste, we are indirectly helping conserve freshwater resources. And looking ahead, let me finish with this. I hope to see product labels indicating their water footprints. So not just for food, but also for items like clothing that we grow, for example, cotton that then is used for clothing to manufacture clothes. So this would empower consumers to make informed choices and select products with lower water footprints.
I think it all starts from having access to that type of information. Thank you so much, Professor. It was a pleasure talking to you today.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
All right, now before I end off, I'm going to be asking our panelists whether they have any personal tips on better saving water through tweaking our daily habits.
So I think the government could get involved somehow. I lived in Australia when they had a very heavy water restrictions because they were going through a drought at the time. So you could, example, only take 5-minute showers, wash your car once a month, or it was around once a month. You could only water your plants at certain times of the day. I think that's why my showers are just so quick these days, because I grew up having to have short showers. Now, Ki-Hoon mentioned that people take 10-minute showers sometimes. I was shocked to know that some people take 30-minute showers as well. So I think that turning the water off when you aren't using it will save a lot. What I mean is by washing the dishes, you don't always have to have the water on. Scrubbing your body, you don't have to have the water on. While I shave, I guess I should use a cup instead of having the water always blasted on. If you have stale or water, you can just water the plants. Every little bit counts, I think.
Every little bit counts. And though it might be convenient for you to just stay with your daily habits and not tweak them, if you think about it in the long run, this is all coming for you. So maybe putting convenience aside and really thinking about the dire situation that we're in with the lack of resource could be critical. Now, what about you, Kyun?
I just totally agree with everything that Walter just mentioned, but I'd just like to end with it sharing a key message laid out by the UN for Water Day 2024. It says, water can create peace or spark conflict. So I think we all want peace, right? We don't want to fight over water because it is a finite resource and everyone is obliged to drink clean water and have access to enough water for their daily lives. So I think we should all cooperate to create a more sustainable, prosperous tomorrow.
And as our expert said, I think it's all about having enough information and being aware. And hopefully today's episode really facilitated that, because in light of World Water Day, I'd like to let a lot of people know that our water footprint is growing day by day, especially if you think that it's so easy to have access to it. But hopefully, as you mentioned, Kyun, if we're all fostering peace, we need to be better aware of how much we can be saving for not only our generation, but for the future generation. Now, in the meantime, we'll be here every day from 9:30 to 10 a.m. Korea time, bringing you more topics young people are talking about. Special thanks to Walter Lee.
Lovely to be here.
And Park Ki-hoon.
Always a pleasure.
All right, and thank you everyone for watching. We'll see you next week. We are News Generation.